For some, love is a strong feeling. What if you could send it in a... From point A to point B. Zero borders, zero time, zero fees. For us, love is sending crypto. Just send it. Now with SmartSend. Engineered in Switzerland by Swissborg.
Pow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay, pow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay.
Pow wow, yo, yippee yay, guys. It's pound number 28, and I'm super excited to be with you guys. Like always, we're gonna dive into the love of the community, then talk about what are we doing on the markets, and then talk about how Swissborg ecosystem is flourishing on a daily basis. As you guys know, my name is Cyrus Fazel. I'm the proud founder and CEO of Swissborg. Always here to serve you. And one of the big news of this today is going to talk about Agora, which is a partner company, actually a spin out of Swissborg, that is creating a safe, fair, sustainable GameFi hub. A really cool, exciting project that it will be very exciting to talk about it right after. Without further ado, let's introduce again Paola, our wonderful principal at Swissborg Venture, talking about market news.
Hello, Swissborgers. This week I'm reporting from Singapore. I'm here for the Singapore Blockchain Week. So if you're around, please come and say hi. We kick it off with a private deal announcement. Hashflow raised $25 million in Series A venture round. After successfully raising $3.2 million in early April as a seed round, the decentralized exchange closed another round to, I quote, aggressively onboard new market makers to maximize the liquidity on the platform. Some of the new investors include Jump Crypto, Winterminute, and GSR, while they're also returning investors such as Electric Capital, Dragonfly, and Ledger Prime. And as we observe many mistakes that happened prior to 2008 due to the lack of regulation in the traditional space move now to the crypto space as well, we have our first case of crypto insider trading. Coinbase product manager and his brother were arrested on charges of insider trading scheme from which they supposedly profited more than $1.5 million. Ishan Wahi, which is the name of the trader, is alleged to have tipped off his brother for upcoming listings so he can go to the market and buy in earlier. The key to this potential prosecution is for SEC to prove that actually those digital assets are securities, because the Coinbase lawyers are arguing that they're not. We move to the latest from the Voyager saga. FTX offered Voyager customers to receive liquidity with an option to sign up for an FTX account. So if you were a Voyager user, now you can claim part of your frozen funds. However, to liquidate it or to continue trading, you need to move to the FTX platform. And this is probably the latest of a series of really bold moves that FTX have done lately to increase their market participation, such as the acquisition deal with BlockFi, as well as they agreed to purchase Bitfo and Embed Finance earlier in June. Next, the Bank of Central African States is being pushed by its board to introduce a common digital currency that can be used in all of its 6 member states. That will be following the example of Nigeria, which launched its own central bank digital currency called eNaira. This can be a really important push in the adoption efforts for blockchain, since Africa is a key market with really high demand. That's all from me this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Paola, for this. Now it's time for Pietro from Market Update to tell us what is happening. Why are we correlated to these markets, to financial markets? Where are we heading in terms of macroeconomy, and what's about NFTs going on?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's market update. For this week, we will be looking at the correlation between the S&P 500, so the US stock market, and crypto, in the sense of BTC, Bitcoin mostly. Then we will be looking at smart money movements. And finally, I'll be giving a little bit of an NFT update, so a little bit of an NFT focus, following last week's update on the NFT market. Starting from the market, so what's happening in the market? Markets are still very much in a state of turmoil at the moment. The stock market is seeking stabilization. It has progressively been showing healthier conditions than expected, given the circumstances being around very high levels of inflation worldwide, ongoing war in Ukraine, Fed rate hikes, and a multitude of other macroeconomic factors that are impacting the health of the global economy at the moment. The crypto market has also suffered significantly since the start of this year. Exchange volumes have been progressively declining since the end of 2021, and they actually reached 1.5-year lows as of this month and last month. Markets are seeking for stabilization. BTC had been hovering around the 22,000 level and is now actually down to the 21,000 level after some grim overview or overlook of the short-term health of the global economy. Ethereum at the moment is hovering around 1.4, 1.5 thousand. Ethereum, so Ether, is still clearly outperforming the other large caps. If you look from a range of the top 10 to the top 30 tokens by market cap, even in the top 50, there's only a few that are clearly outperforming the rest. The main being Ether, and Ether due to, of course, the upcoming merge that will shift from proof of work to proof of stake. The other few are actually Ethereum Classic, that rose purely by name association with Ether. Polygon, that also had an association with Ether, but also then struck some very interesting partnerships, one being with the Disney Accelerator. And then ApeCoin was another big outlier, and that is because of the launch of the Other Side metaverse from Bored Ape Yacht Club. When we look at the charts on the right, we can see that the correlation is actually slowly fading between the stock market and the crypto market, at least in this short-term period. The S&P 500 and crypto correlation reached highs in March of this year, and since then has been progressively dropping and declining. If we look at the 30-day correlation versus the 90-day correlation, this becomes extremely apparent. If you look from the chart on the bottom right, the 30-day correlation versus the 90-day correlation, you can see that the 90-day correlation between BTC and the S&P 500 and, for example, NASDAQ was extremely high. So the closer that correlation is to 1, the closer the relationship between the two is 1-to-1, the correlation, right? So it shows that in the 30-day gap, so in this short-term period, is actually being progressively declining for all asset classes compared to Bitcoin. This shows that there is a potential for crypto to shift away from macro-induced movements, and potentially, let's see if this will cause some significant differences in how these assets move in the future. Upcoming week is one of the busiest weeks of the year. The Fed has a policy meeting between today and tomorrow, where they're expected to raise interest rates again by 75 basis points. And also the largest cap stocks and companies in the US, namely Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon, all have their earnings this week. So these should significantly impact the rest of the market as well. When we look on the second slide that I presented for this market update, I wanted to look a little bit at smart money. Why smart money? Focusing on smart money is extremely interesting. Smart money is showing you the movements of very knowledgeable people, is showing you movements of very knowledgeable people in the industry. Smart money shows people or institutions that make smart investments, therefore that have had consistently long-term returns and very profitable returns. Therefore, when we look at smart money in these conditions, what does smart money do in bear markets? So, in terms of token holdings, we look at the chart on the right. This shows token holdings and ordered by 30-day change. Therefore, in the last month, what has smart money decided to accumulate in terms of crypto assets? By looking at this chart, we can see the clear attraction and edge that Ether has had as of late. Ether, of course, with the upcoming merge, has been one of the more interesting tokens to invest in. And smart money is clearly betting on ETH. This is shown by the interest of it being the top one holding in terms of 30-day change of smart money, and by quite a mile if you look at the data of the next few tokens after that. And it's also shown in the interest by some of the other top tokens on that list, namely the AV interest-bearing ETH and the Lido staked ETH. So therefore, from the token holdings ordered by 30 days, you can see that ETH has the clear edge over all of the others. Other than that, and a couple of stablecoins on that list, you can see that smart money is focusing at the moment on established DeFi protocols: Sushi, Aave, Maker, etc. A Compound if you go a bit lower down the list as well. And this shows you that they are essentially flocking to safer assets, to reliable and resilient tokens, as well as to the future of the crypto space, which of course shows that Ether will be the merge, and Ether 2.0 will be that future. If we look on the chart on the right, then we can see the separation, so the ratio of stable coins to altcoins that smart money holds. From this chart, we can see, and the orange line is showing how much their portfolios is stable coins compared to altcoins. So if the yellow line is rising, that means that smart money is accumulating stable coins. Whereas if the orange line is decreasing, it shows that smart money is accumulating altcoins. Therefore, we can see a clear rise of altcoin holdings after recent news this year. Since you can see from the start of 2022 in that chart, there's been a progressive rise in stablecoin holdings for smart money. This is obviously another flock to safety mechanism, since stablecoins in the crypto industry mean complete virtual safety. Of course, stablecoins are not perfect, and they're not always stable, as we've seen in the past. But essentially, in this market, it's one of the safest bets you can make, because it shouldn't fluctuate in value. The rise in stablecoin holdings compared to altcoins, therefore, is very logical, given recent news of this year and what's been happening in the market. Nonetheless, in the last couple of months, there's actually been a drop in stablecoin holdings. As you can see from the chart, in that last period of that chart, so June, July, the stablecoin holdings have actually dropped from 18% versus altcoins to 11% versus altcoins. This showed that smart money believed we could be close to a bottom, and that it might be time to invest in altcoins to take advantage of potential medium-term upside potential. Therefore, whereas at the start of the year you could see that maybe smart money was a little hesitant to have too much of their portfolio in altcoins, at the moment it's quite the opposite. They shifted a bit more away from stablecoins and wanted to go back into altcoins, mainly, of course, in Ether-related projects due to the merge, as well as staking opportunities with that. Finally, the last part will be related to an NFT focus. So last week, I gave an update on NFTs. I showed a chart that showed fading NFT volumes all across the board. Overall volumes were down, and most of the volume that remained was on ETH, was on the Ethereum network, since activity on there was the highest. And in a bear market, you always aim to focus on the blockchain that has the most activity. The new graph shows the floor prices. So the new graph here on the left shows the floor prices of the largest NFT collections. And this shows that as of late, these collections have quite suffered. There's very few projects that in a 90-day spectrum have actually gained in terms of floor price. And in the 30-day spectrum, even fewer than that. Nonetheless, to end on a positive note, as you can see on that chart on the right, it shows the buying versus selling wallets. So even with fading volumes and lower floor prices, there's very interesting data regarding wallet activity. So per week, it actually shows that wallet activity has not faded at all in 2022. It's actually remained very constant. It shows that the interest in NFTs has remained strong and is still going extremely strong in this half period of 2022. Even more optimistic is when we look at the difference between buyers and sellers. So you can see from that chart that there's a clear separation between how many people are buying NFTs and how many wallets are buying NFTs and how many wallets are selling them. This shows you how optimistic people are in NFTs, how much relevance there is in this industry, and just how much people believe in it and are still clearly attracted by NFTs, even in a bear market. This shows the long-term potential of the NFT industry and is still significant. And it also shows, according to the NFTs that are currently still doing well, that purposeful NFTs will always have an edge. And with what's coming up in terms of Swissborg and their NFT releases, I think this fits perfectly. Thank you very much for listening.
Question of the week from the community. I just wonder if Swissborg could update the relationship with Mimo DeFi. So Mimo, as you guys know, has been a partner company of us for a long time. We know them on a very good personal level. And essentially, we've brought in Mimo, which is a governance token, to essentially create a decentralized Euro stablecoin, right? That's based on, not like UST, has a really higher reserve of stable coins, of different Ether and whatsoever, and it's over collateralized. PAR, as I know right now, is being tested within essentially Swissborg employees to get a yield there, which is really good. We do believe this is a great project. However, it's a very early stage project. So there's few tweaks to make sure that we can manage essentially the scalability of this project. And for sure, we'll be offering this as soon as we believe that we've been able to tick all the risk boxes that take a lot of time. And then we bring it to make a sustainable yield with you guys. Community sentiment of the week, Patrick 19, man. I really think that you're a true lover, warrior, soldier, and you've placed it very well, this thing. Swissborg has a lot of momentum, have been placed under a dark cloud with other lending and CeFi projects. The next 6 months are important, especially as Binance FTX take over. The community has to come together and stay strong and keep spreading the love of CHSB. And I think so this is extremely important. Not only for us as Borgers, but for actually the planet, the world. If we believe in decentralization and 95% of the market is dominated by FTX and Binance, what will happen to blockchain, right? If all the money that is going to these two different companies, this could be essentially very dangerous plots, right? Where you'll have maybe an Amazon and a Google that will fight. And what do we know with centralization that eventually doesn't go very well? We know that so far FTX is just growing by essentially buying out all these companies and raising a lot of capital and trading and doing a lot of things to as well to improve the market, but eliminating a lot of different market players. And where you see on the other side that Binance is doing a fantastic job of building their community, now being regulated and trying to offer this to the world, which is great for both. But what happens to decentralization again? If everything goes on the BNB chain and whatever goes on the Solana or the next blockchain that FTX is going to push, is that the power is going to be essentially centralized to two different parties, essentially SAM and CZ, and this could be actually dangerous for the purpose actually of crypto. Another thing which is great is that, though, if you look on the long run, is that technology could maybe be, there's few people that could control it. But the finance is never the case. And we will see that today, only 0.3% of wealth of people are into crypto, where we see there's 25% of wealth that's in stocks. So this market is just going to grow and there's going to be new actors. And more importantly, Swissborg is going to be one of the biggest one. And I think so that's a great thing, Patrick. Thanks for really putting this, that in these times we have to be strong. There is some dark clouds that really have taken out most of our competitors. We remain strong and we remain strong. And we are Swissborg, of course. Another warrior, community member of the week, Tom WT, FLGR, Tom at Twitter. Please follow this guy. He's been awesome. He's been doing a lot of things within the community. He has been showing that one of the strong goals of his own objectives, key results of this year, is to actually go 100 million remaining in the supply. I think so. This is really what he wants. And I think so. I really like it. I think so. He has a strong goal was just to get to that 100 million remaining supply, and he's pushing everyone to do that. So please look him up, share the love, and let's get to less than 100 million remaining supply, all of that into the yield, and as of course, even more importantly, into the premium tiers. So let's talk about partnerships, and a great update here regarding one of the really cool projects was called GameFi. This is a beautiful marriage between Swissborg, Ultra, and the Agora amazing team. I think so the best will be basically to go on their website and understand a little bit what Agora is building. So essentially, Agora is building a DEX right now that's on the Ultra blockchain. Ultra blockchain is a very nice, interesting blockchain that really specializes on the GameFi industry. So bringing a lot of different games, but as well eventually NFTs that could be on their blockchain and be able to sell and trade. And what we've seen so far, a lot of these different games is that there's a lot of cool games of Web3 games, but there's not really good marketplaces to share that, right? You have the OpenSeas that enables you to do some peer-to-peer sales, but there's not really a great platform for this for games. And we know that games eventually is going to be huge, right? It's a 300 billion revenue per year going to only games, and none of that is going to essentially players. So you have, on one way, you have Xborg that is creating these eSport 3.0, creating all these different guilds and playing these different games, and doing great things with soul-bound tokens, as we explained, Louis, last week. And the other side, you have the whole trading, the marketplace, the technology that enable you to buy, sell, to start yielding different artifacts, different skins, different type of NFTs and prize and treasures that you have in this place. And I think so the really great ambition here of Agora is to be a leader in that space, which could really, really grow. And I think so, that's why what's released for Agora, right? Investors will get access to the most promising gaming tokens and assets. I think so this is really good. So you could be trading, the guilds could be able to essentially raise liquidity from their prizes and be able to really optimize their returns on the assets of what they be building. And last, the gamers will take part in the best upcoming games, and by the way, lending and borrowing again. So I think so this is really what I feel very, very interesting for this. The founders that are behind used to work closely with Swissborg, so we know them very well. They're smart people, so I wish very the best. There's actually there's an AMA happening today, so if you want to know more about it, check their Twitter page. I'm sure we'll be sharing this, and you could get more into what's happening within it. And then of course join their Discord, Twitter channel, and yeah, NJ, what's the future of gaming? Swissborg and safety. This chapter is really important for you guys, but as well to send this message to the entire world and to show how we're different. As we know, this last 4 months, the bloodbath of DeFi and the tumble of most crypto exchanges and lending platforms have really put CeFi into this same hazardous type of connotation, which is very dangerous. And I want to really explain you guys is why at Swissborg we're sustainable and why we're so different from any counterparty that exists as CeFi platforms. And one of the first is track record and integrity. That is fundamental. You could change a company, but you cannot change the soul of a company. The values that goes with it is that you always have to be showing this integrity, this community aspect, this transparency, really this open communication, that way that you could really bring that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that really family business, right? That's driven through this mission. And from 2017 to now, we did our ICO. We've promised you a lot of great things. We've been developing some of these great things and much more to come. And we've already witnessed, weathered a big crypto winter, which was 2018, 2020. And, we were resilient, and this has shown again that we are here to stay. And this is something very, very, very important, is that a lot of these companies go like this, up and down, a lot of them. And there's a lot of inconsistency when it goes to crypto, a lot of hope and then a lot of dope, right? A strong other thing about our culture is that we really moved from a financial company to then a fintech company to eventually a tech fin company. And thanks to smart people that work hardly, proud engineers at Swissborg have been really changing this ecosystem and the culture that goes with it, and how we could really empower our community through this beautiful technology, these great products. And this is something really important. Like today at Swissborg, we have roughly 100 engineers out of 230 people we have. It really shows how much greatness we have in terms of shipping and building great products that are scalable, that are safe, and that are very, very different. The third thing that goes to integrity and to this TechFin culture is being compliant. We've been very compliant since day one. Why is that? Because we were backgrounds were, working in TradFi, and we always knew that if you're not compliant, eventually you're not going to be working with banking partners. You're not going to be regulated. And eventually, you're not going to be protecting the best interest of your community. And this has been very, very important, how we be able to do KYC already back in our ICO in 2017, how we were doing AML on chain back in 2017. And we always really wanted to bring the best of how to be compliant. Why? Thanks to that, today we work with the best banking partners, for instance, SEPA, Faster, GBP, with Swiss francs, with a lot of different banking partners. And every day, every week or every month or so, we have more banking partners that want to work with us. On top of that, you have the regulation. The fact that we're regulated with FIU, with the crypto licenses, but as well with AMF in France, with the PESAN license, and with the SOFI in Switzerland, directly with the FINMA, and we have more portfolio licenses that are being building while I speak. So I think this is a very, very important thing to be compliant. Number 4, being compliant, but protecting your assets at all time, making the most secure platform with MPC, but more importantly, by segregating your assets, meaning that you're the one that are owner of your assets and your data as well. And this is something that is very important at Swissborg, is how we segregate assets, and then whatever happens to Swissborg, you'll be able to retrieve your funds. And not 10 cents on your fund, 90% is that it actually belongs to yourself. So this is something very important. The 5th is risk management over unhealthy returns. And I think there's 3 Arrow Capital and so many different counterparties of these CeFi or hedge fund always said, oh guys, lend us your money and we'll give you a great yield. And a lot of community members, which was sad, are saying, oh, Cyrus, I'm sorry, but your yields are too low. It sucks. Genesis, we have no thing. We only get 8% on USDC. And we're like, well, on a risk return basis, this is a very nice yield, and we're not making any money out of there. This is really the best you could get. They're like, no, I'm getting 18% with Celsius. I'm getting 18% with a Voyager, and the list goes on, right? Well, now you realize that a lot of these people that done that is probably they left and they got burnt. A lot of people that stay with us today, you have your money. There's been the UST and the incidents, obviously. This as well was really pushed, and it was very hard not to accept UST. We did the mistake of doing that, but we still managed that 85% of people got back their money. We called people, we messaged them, and to please say, before the depegging happening, you should actually exchange your money for UST to USDC. And this again shows how you guys have segregated accounts and that we cannot do that for you. So I think this is something very, very important. Segregation of yield program risk. This is probably the nicest thing that's going to happen with Earn 2.0 or the YODL, is that how essentially you'll be able to customize your yield strategy based on risk, but as well on the time and of the lockup. And everyone will have a risk basis approach to this. And I could tell you, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, regulators are going to force people actually to do that. And who's going to be the first? Swissborg again. And I think a lot of people, you'll see that this is going to be a norm. And I think this is going to be a great way to, again, recognize that Swissborg, we're ahead of the competition and we're doing things in the really right way to provide you the best wealth management experience. Zero leverage policy. We believe that crypto already has those rockets, and as well those rockets that fall down. So there's no need of enhancing these very volatile markets. Last but not least, I think so, we're a family business. We really owe a lot to our token holders, to our community. We really want to provide always better products and services, new tokens, and new ways to invest to have a better experience. So to frame the 7-8 different ways why Swissborg is definitely on an edge and providing a best wealth management experience, but providing a great secure platform. Here it is. If there's anything missing, please comment it. Looking forward to see what you have in mind. Inflation crash course. There's Chris and Alex that has done really clear videos. There'll be more to done. As you guys know, we're today facing one of the highest inflation peak of all time. The Fed is actually going to cut the rates probably 75 basis points by tonight or by tomorrow to reduce that. And the main reason is that, well, printing money. Quantitative easing is when you get to print so much money to boost the economy that suddenly you get too much money and essentially you're not producing as fast as you're printing. The second thing that goes with this, which is really bad, is this world crisis with the war, with the oil penury, with the fact that commodities is suffering as well. So a lot of prices are getting higher and higher. And in the States now we're at a double digit almost, right? Which hasn't been seen since the early 80s when I was born. So this has to be very important to one thing, is that if you have now 1,000 euros or 1,000 francs and you're essentially not investing that, you're going to be losing maybe on Swiss franc a little bit less, maybe 2-3%, on euros maybe 5%. If you're in dollars, 5%, 10%. That means over maybe the next 3 years, you're going to lose 30%. This is horrible to think about it. So you're most probably your house was worth 100,000. 3 years from now might be worth 130,000, right? And this is very important to say, like, how do you protect your wealth, right? Well, by investing in deflationary type of tokens, and Bitcoin is one, Ethereum is one, CHSB is another one. And I think so this is going to be a big theme that we have to play on the long run, is how to get into those great inflation hedges. A lot of events always happening. There was an Valley one yesterday. Smart Cafe in Spanish actually happening tomorrow. We have a cool thing going, a family picnic with burgers on Saturday, August 6th. And we have a little drinks happening in the office actually after tomorrow if you guys want to join. Seaborg Squad giving a digital identity to ESG through the NFT space is something that we've been really hoping to launch. Wednesday, we're having actually an AMA, which is going to be really cool. It's going to be done on Discord. There's going to be a shop on Discord. There's going to be a few mints that are going to happen. So please be there and be square. CHSB, Swissborg data. This is a very interesting one. We saw that obviously a lot of the AUM today is in infrastructure. That's where one of the biggest is, and the concentration obviously in Ethereum and Bitcoin. We have over almost literally 300 plus million there. We have 100 million in stable coins, so people to bounce back on buying crypto, which is a smart move. Real world is obviously much smaller there, but there's a big amount of people, which is right. And metaverse, same thing. It means that people are really positioned on those 4 different themes, which is quite healthy to have some diversification, but as well to have a lot of money into essentially the higher gainers, which are infrastructure very often, and as well on stable coins, which is very good for the bounce back. Weekly in CHSB data, pretty much things are in par, besides losing 9%. Unfortunately, this last 340 people that have had premium, which is good, but not great. And a little bit less than 136,000 Swissborg token holders in our app. Was bringing us to the community in the DEX. Not great, but not too bad, I would say. 5.3 is still good enough since last week. Obviously, July and market time is not the best, but there's a little bit more activity, especially the fact that Ethereum has again done a great rally this last 3 weeks, and probably is going to be quite shaky markets this next month. So probably they'll be resuming a lot of trading and a lot of ways to earn money if you're doing this right. Tomorrow night is crypto night, and let's check out the video.
What actually is the metaverse?
Will Meta make everything better?
Do I have to wear the goggles?
Everybody should study and get into the Web3 and the metaverse market. they can build it inside. So we can have a kindergarten there, we can have elementary school. So the possibility is with infinities. It is a revolution.
Borgers, as you guys understand, I think so there's really two big themes to be played out of the next, I would say, month or so, is to understand two different things about investment. One is the inflation hedge, is how crypto could really be the fortune of tomorrow being an inflation hedge, where fiat, unfortunately, is going to be a losing one, as you guys know, right? The US dollar, the major lost one. Euro has been losing 20-30% in the last 2 years or just year, and the Swiss franc being a little bit stable, and the GBP doing up and down different swings. There's something very important to be well diversified as well, right? I think so. If you like not to have too much risk, and I think so, this is probably a very good way to convince friends who still don't buy this thing. It's just playing inflation hedge, as easy as that. As people don't understand the whole crypto thing, is just like, okay, what do you do to fight inflation? How do you do it? Some people could say gold, but we saw that gold over the last 10 years has never really appreciated. There's not been all-time highs in the last 10 years, right? So it's good while the markets are tumbling, but on the long term, holding gold is not necessarily a great strategy. The second thing is to really show how Swissborg has been a very secure ecosystem. And this is something that we really have to play on and on and on, because again, these last 3 months and these last 5 years have shown that our resiliency, our risk management, and developing the right products with the right culture has been great things. The future of Swissborg and of us is obviously bright. And we're really at this determined point where we're going to have to make some few changes and bring new products and bring new services. And these are little tweaks that we're going to do. And with the big changes that we're going to bring in products are definitely be the game changers. So I really, want you guys to think, is there anything that we're missing here, right? Is there anything that we could do to make, that little extra that changed someone from ordinary to extraordinary? If you have the answer, well, please let me know. As always, guys, be healthy, be wealthy, and love our CHSB. Take care, guys. Bye.
Through Swissborg, all assets will have a fiat gateway. And here is the thing.
Premium features gives you zero fee trading.
It's an amazing fiat gateway.
For some, love is a strong feeling. What if you could send it from point A to point B? Zero borders, zero time, zero fees. For us, love is sending crypto. Just send it. Now with SmartSend. Engineered in Switzerland by Swissborg.